The alien armada's laughter echoed through their neural communication network as they spotted the lone human vessel at the edge of the Sol system. A single ship, barely the size of their smallest cruiser, hovering defiantly against the backdrop of endless stars. Supreme Warleader Kex-11's mandibles clicked in amusement as the tactical display showed the vessel's designation, HMS Clever Fox. They send one ship to face our might? The Supreme Warleader's thoughts rippled through the command network. Perhaps they wished to surrender their system with minimal bloodshed. Aboard the HMS Clever Fox, Captain Helen Chen sat motionless in her command chair, her weathered hands steady on the neural interface panels. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, their movements precise and unhurried despite the wall of enemy vessels appearing on their view screen. Status report. Chen's voice carried no trace of fear. Alien fleet holding at projected coordinates, Captain. Lieutenant Rivera responded from tactical. Counting 217 vessels. Energy signatures suggest they're charging weapons. Chen nodded, her silver-streaked hair catching the soft blue light of the bridge displays. And our systems? Mirror protocols at full capacity, Chief Engineer Wong confirmed from his station. Dr. Patel's modifications are holding steady. The alien armada spread out in a classic encirclement pattern, their sleek biomechanical ships moving with predatory grace. On their command frequency, tactical officers wagered how quickly the human vessel would fall. Their ship appears to have no weapon systems, one of Kex-11's subordinates reported with confusion. Energy readings suggest minimal defensive capabilities. No weapons? Kex-11's amusement turned to suspicion. In 3 centuries of conquest, they had never encountered a military vessel without offensive capabilities. Scan again. Captain Chen closed her eyes, feeling the subtle vibrations of her ship through the neural interface. 2 weeks of preparation had led to this moment. 2 weeks since Dr. Patel had unveiled the impossible technology that now hummed beneath their feet. 2 weeks of knowing they would either save humanity or die trying. They're moving to firing positions, Rivera reported calmly. Let them come, Chen replied, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. Sometimes the cleavest fox is the one that walks into the hunter's sights. The alien armada's forward line lit up with energy signatures as they prepared to fire. In those final seconds before the first salvo, Supreme Warleader Kex-11 felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries of warfare: doubt. Why was the human ship just sitting there? Why were they smiling? 2 weeks earlier, Dr. Raj Patel stood before the United Earth Defense Council, his hands trembling as he manipulated the holographic display. The assembled military and civilian leaders leaned forward, their faces illuminated by the swirling diagram of what he dubbed Project Mirror. You're telling us, Admiral Thompson interrupted, his bushy eyebrows furrowed, that this system can turn an enemy's weapons against them? Not exactly, sir. Patel adjusted his glasses, a nervous habit from his university days. The mirror system creates a quantum-entangled field that redirects energy weapons back along their original trajectory. It doesn't just reflect, it amplifies. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. They'd all seen the footage of the alien armada cutting through humanity's outer colonies like paper. Conventional shields had proven useless against their advanced weaponry. And you've tested this? General Rivera asked, her skepticism evident. Patel nodded, pulling up footage from the lunar testing facility. 16 successful trials against captured alien weapon signatures. But... He hesitated. But what, Doctor? The system requires intimate neural integration. A human mind to guide the quantum field. And the larger the attack, the greater the neural load. The council chamber fell silent. Neural integration technology was still in its infancy, and the risks were well documented. Brain damage. Personality fragmentation. Death. How many ships would we need to defend Earth? Admiral Thompson asked. 1. The answer hung in the air like a physical thing. One ship against an armada. The room exploded into arguments until Captain Helen Chen's voice cut through the chaos. I volunteer. All eyes turned to the veteran captain. She stood, her posture military straight despite her age, eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Clever Fox is the most maneuverable ship in the fleet, and my crew is the best neural sync team we have. Helen, General Rivera started, you're talking about a suicide mission. I'm talking about survival. Chen's voice was steel. We can't match their numbers. We can't match their firepower. But we can make them defeat themselves. Back in the present, Chen's fingers traced the neural interface panels as she remembered that day. Dr. Patel had worked around the clock to modify the Fox's systems, integrating the mirror technology into every deck, every bulkhead. The ship had become as much quantum computer as vessel. The crew had trained relentlessly, pushing the neural synchronization to its limits. They'd lost Lieutenant Park to a synaptic overload during the first week. Chen had held his hand as he slipped away, his last words a whispered apology for not being strong enough. Energy spike. Rivera's voice snapped Chen back to the present. They're targeting our engines first. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens were following standard tactical doctrine, disable propulsion, then methodically destroy defensive capabilities. They had no way of knowing that every shot they fired would only make the Fox stronger. All hands, Chen broadcast shipwide, this is what we trained for. Neural sync in 3, 2. The familiar cold sensation of the neural interface washed over her consciousness. She could feel her crew, Rivera's steady determination, Wong's focused intensity, all of them becoming part of the greater whole that was the Fox. Through the viewscreen, the alien armada's forward line blazed with energy weapons, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They had no idea they were about to teach humanity how to turn their greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. 1. The void between the ships lit up like a new sun. Supreme War Leader Kex-11 watched with satisfaction as the first wave of plasma torpedoes streaked across space toward the lone human vessel. The weapon's brilliant azure trails carved elegant paths through the void, their targeting perfect, their power overwhelming. No shield could withstand such firepower. No defense could. The torpedoes vanished. For a fraction of a second, the space around the HMS Clever Fox seemed to ripple like disturbed water. Then the impossible happened. The plasma torpedoes reappeared, their azure trails now a deep violet, streaking back toward their points of origin with nearly double their initial velocity. Evasive action. Kex-11's command came too late. 3 of his forward vessels erupted in spectacular explosions as their own weapons tore through their shields as if they weren't there. The neural network filled with confusion and panic as the surviving ship's crews tried to process what they'd just witnessed. Aboard the Clever Fox, Captain Chen grit her teeth against the neural feedback. Each redirected shot felt like ice water being poured directly into her brain, but she held firm. Around her, the bridge crew worked through their own discomfort, their neural synchronization maintaining the quantum field. Mirror efficiency at 93%, Wong reported, his voice strained. Power amplification exceeding projected levels. They're adapting, Rivera warned. Second wave incoming, different energy signatures. The alien fleet had shifted tactics, launching a barrage of crystalline projectiles, physical ammunition that shouldn't have been affected by the mirror system. Chen smiled. Dr. Patel had thought of that. As the crystals entered the quantum field, they simply stopped. Hung suspended in space like stars frozen in time. Chen felt the strain through the neural interface as the system calculated trajectories, molecular compositions, velocity vectors. Then, with a thought, she released them. The crystalline projectiles shot back toward the alien fleet, their structures fundamentally altered by their passage through the quantum field. When they struck their targets, instead of merely impacting, they phased through shields and hull plating before detonating inside the ships. 5 more alien vessels destroyed in an instant. Impossible. Kex-11's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. By the eternal void, what manner of technology is this? The Supreme War Leader had conquered 17 star systems. He had never encountered anything like this. His neural link to the fleet's tactical network was flooded with confusion, fear, and, most troubling, doubt. "Hold position," he commanded, forcing calm into his thoughts. This is clearly some form of trick. Some temporary defense that must drain their energy reserves. No species could maintain such a field indefinitely. On the clever fox, blood trickled from Chen's nose. The neural load was intense, far beyond the testing levels. She could feel similar strain through the crew link, headaches, tremors, the beginnings of neural fatigue. "Captain," Dr. Patel's voice came through the comm from his remote monitoring station on Earth. "The quantum field is stable, but the neural feedback is exceeding safe levels. You need to reduce power to the outer matrices." "Negative," Chen responded, wiping the blood away. "If we reduce power, we risk gaps in the coverage. They'll find a weak point and exploit it." But the human mind wasn't designed to. "The human mind," Chen interrupted, "is capable of far more than you think, Doctor. Trust us. Trust your creation." The alien fleet was regrouping, forming new attack patterns. Chen could see it in their movements, they weren't retreating. They were analyzing, adapting, preparing something bigger. Their initial confusion was giving way to calculated determination. "All hands," she broadcast, her voice steady despite the pounding in her head, "prepare for full neural engagement. They're about to show us what they're really capable of." Through the neural link, she felt her crew's acknowledgement, their fear and determination mixing with her own. They had bloodied the enemy's nose, shown them humanity wasn't helpless. But now came the real test. The alien Armada's main batteries began to glow with gathered energy, and Chen realized with grim amusement that Kex-11 was about to learn a painful lesson about human endurance. Sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that seemed cornered. Supreme War Leader Kex-11's memory flashed back to the Council of Hierarchs meeting 3 cycles ago. He stood before the assembled leaders of the Dominion, mandibles raised in confident assertion as he presented his analysis of the human defense capabilities. "These primitives rely on brute force shielding and chemical propulsion," he had declared. "Their greatest advantage is their sheer stubbornness. They simply refuse to acknowledge when they are outmatched." The hierarchs had chittered in amusement, their crystalline chambers resonating with the sound. First speaker Valshaw had raised a primary appendage for silence. "And you are certain," she had asked, "that they possess no hidden capabilities? No weapons we have not accounted for?" Respected speaker, Kex-11 had replied, his tone dripping with certainty, "We have analyzed every engagement. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They are barely worth the resources required to conquer them." Now, watching another wave of his own ship's weapons tear through their hulls, Kex-11 felt the bitter sting of that pride. 8 vessels lost. 12 more severely damaged. And still that single human ship hung in space before them, its mysterious field absorbing and reflecting everything they threw at it. "Adjust firing patterns," he commanded through the neural net. "Random sequences, varying energy signatures. They cannot possibly account for every variation." The Armada responded, their weapons systems creating a beautiful and deadly light show. Plasma beams, quantum lances, graviton pulses, all aimed at different points of the human vessel, all at slightly different times. Aboard the Clever Fox, Captain Chen's world had narrowed to pain and numbers. Each incoming attack was a mathematical pattern to be solved, a physics equation to be reversed. The neural interface filled her mind with streams of data, each requiring split-second decisions. Power fluctuation in Section 3. Wang's voice seemed to come from very far away. The quantum field is becoming unstable. Reroute through my neural pathway, Chen ordered, knowing what it would cost her. She felt the additional load hit her consciousness like a physical blow, but the field held. Captain, Rivera's thoughts carried clear concern through their shared link. You can't keep absorbing more load. The human brain has limits. Chen almost laughed. Limits. That's what everyone always said about humanity. That's why the aliens had come with their overwhelming force and their absolute certainty. Because they believed they knew humanity's limits. Through the quantum field, she caught fragments of the alien fleet's communications. Their frustration. Their growing fear. Their inability to comprehend how one ship, one primitive, human ship, could stand against their might. New attack formation. Rivera called out. They're attempting to create a resonance cascade. Chen watched through blurring vision as the alien ships moved into a spherical formation around the Fox. It was beautiful, in a deadly way. Each ship perfectly positioned to create overlapping fields of fire, their weapons carefully timed to overwhelm any possible defense. Dr. Patel, Chen managed through gritted teeth, are you seeing this? Yes, Patel's voice was tight with concern. Captain, they're trying to create a feedback loop in the quantum field. If those shots hit in the precise sequence they're planning, the mirror system will try to reflect them all simultaneously, Chen finished. The neural load would be. She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what it meant. Best case, immediate neural shutdown of everyone linked to the system. Worst case, their minds would burn out trying to process the impossible load. Through the haze of neural feedback, Chen saw Supreme Warleader Kex-11's flagship move into position. The alien commander was committing fully to this attack. He had seen the human ship's apparent weakness, its reliance on the crew's neural capacity, and was moving to exploit it. What he hadn't realized was that this perceived weakness was about to become his greatest mistake. All hands, Chen broadcast, her voice steadied despite the tremors racking her body, prepare for Protocol Omega. She felt the crew's shock through their neural link. Protocol Omega was theoretical, untested. Dr. Patel had called it suicide when she had first proposed it. But as the alien fleet's weapons began to power up for their synchronized attack, Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Sometimes the most dangerous trap was the one you walked into willingly. Protocol Omega is not an option. Dr. Patel's voice cracked with desperation. The human brain wasn't designed to handle that level of neural integration. You'll die, all of you. In her command chair, Captain Chen watched the alien fleet's synchronized attack pattern with an almost detached fascination. Blood now flowed freely from her nose, ears, and the corners of her eyes. Around her, the bridge crew struggled with their own neural loads, each person fighting to maintain their connection to the mirror system. Dr. Chen's voice was soft but unwavering, tell me something. When you designed this system, did you account for human stubbornness? What? The quantum field responds to consciousness. To will. That's why it needs human minds to guide it. But you built in safeguards, limits to protect us from ourselves. Through the neural link, Chen felt her crew's growing understanding. Their fear, yes, but also their determination. Their trust. Those safeguards exist for a reason. Patel protested. The mathematical models clearly show. Mathematics, Chen interrupted, can't quantify the human spirit. She opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, prepare for full neural integration. Remove all safety protocols on my mark. The alien fleet's weapons reached full charge, their synchronized attack only moments away. Supreme Warleader Kex-11 watched with grim satisfaction as his tactical display showed the human vessel's quantum field fluctuating, weakening under the sustained assault. Their technology has limits, he broadcast to the fleet. Their biology has limits. No species can withstand the full might of the Dominion. Fire on my command. Inside the clever fox, Lieutenant Rivera spoke softly, her hands steady on her console despite the tremors racking her body. Captain, I need to tell you something. Save it for after, Lieutenant. No, ma'am. You need to know. Rivera's voice carried a lifetime of unspoken words. My daughter, she lives in London. She's 6. Everything I've done, every battle, every sacrifice, it's all been for her. And I want you to know. I understand what you're about to do. And I'm with you. One by one, the other bridge crew members spoke up. Each had a story. Each had someone they were fighting for. Each understood what Protocol Omega meant, and each was willing to pay that price. Dr. Patel's voice came through again, thick with emotion. Helen, there's something I never told you about the mirror system. Something I discovered in the final tests. Tell me. The quantum field, it doesn't just reflect energy. It absorbs information. Patterns. Knowledge. With full neural integration, you won't just be redirecting their weapons. You'll be taking in everything. Their technology, their tactics, their very understanding of physics itself. Chen nodded slowly. And that's what would kill us. Not the neural load itself, but the influx of alien knowledge our brains couldn't process. Yes. Unless, Chen's eyes fixed on the alien fleet, we didn't try to process it. Unless we simply, let it flow through us. Like a mirror doesn't try to understand the light it reflects. A moment of silence filled the command channel. That might work, Patel admitted. Theoretically. But the risk. Doctor, Chen's voice carried the weight of command, of certainty, of acceptance. Humanity didn't get to the stars by playing it safe. We didn't survive as a species by backing down when the odds seemed impossible. She took a deep breath. We got here by doing what had to be done, no matter the cost. The alien fleet's weapons reached critical charge. In his command center, Supreme Warleader Kex-11 raised his primary appendage, ready to give the order that would end this bizarre resistance once and for all. All hands, Chen broadcast one final time, remove safety protocols. Full neural integration in 3, 2. Through their shared connection, she felt her crew's resolve crystallize into something unbreakable. In that moment, they were no longer individual humans. They were humanity itself, standing against the darkness of extinction. 1. Protocol Omega engaged, and the universe changed. Light. That was all Captain Chen could see. Not the harsh brightness of the alien weapons, not the soft glow of bridge displays, but pure, absolute radiance that seemed to contain every wavelength in existence. Through the total neural integration of Protocol Omega, she felt rather than saw the alien fleet's synchronized attack launch. Time seemed to slow, stretch, become meaningless. The mirror system didn't just reflect the incoming barrage, it absorbed it, understood it, transformed it. Through the neural link, Chen felt alien knowledge pour into her consciousness like a digital tsunami. Quantum mechanics beyond human understanding. Technology that bordered on magic. The collected military wisdom of 1,000 conquered worlds. And through it all, pain. Unimaginable, searing pain as her human brain struggled to channel forces it was never meant to comprehend. Neural patterns destabilizing. Dr. Patel's voice seemed to come from across vast distances. Captain, your consciousness is fragmenting. You have to disengage. But Chen couldn't respond. Every ounce of her being was focused on holding the quantum field together, on keeping her crew's minds synchronized as they faced the impossible together. Through their shared connection, she felt each of them fighting their own battles against the void that threatened to swallow their identities. Rivera, holding on to the image of her daughter's smile. Wang, reciting engineering equations like a prayer. Each crew member anchoring themselves to something uniquely human as alien knowledge rewrote their understanding of reality. Supreme Warleader Kex-11 watched in growing horror as his fleet's synchronized attack struck the human vessel's quantum field. Instead of overwhelming it, instead of creating the devastating feedback loop his tacticians had predicted, something entirely different happened. The clever fox began to glow. Not with weapons fire or shield energy, but with something deeper. Something that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. The quantum field expanded, rippled, transformed into something his sensors couldn't even categorize. Impossible readings from the human ship, his science officer reported, mandibles clicking in agitation. They're processing our weapon signatures at a quantum level. Somehow integrating the energy patterns into their field matrix. Cease fire. Kex-11 commanded, but it was too late. The clever fox's quantum field pulsed outward in a sphere of pure possibility. Every ship it touched simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged, but frozen in a moment of quantum uncertainty. Schrödinger's fleet, simultaneously existing and not existing until observed. Inside the Fox, reality began to break down. Captain. Rivera's voice cut through the chaos. The field is becoming self-sustaining. We can't control it anymore. Chen tried to respond, but her thoughts scattered like mercury. The neural load was too much, the alien knowledge too vast. She felt her consciousness beginning to fragment, pieces of her identity dissolving into the quantum foam of possibility. Helen. Dr. Patel's voice carried raw panic now. The mirror system is achieving quantum sentience. It's using your neural patterns as a template. If you don't disconnect now, there won't be anything left of you. But Chen had already known this might happen. Had understood, on some level, that this was always the price that would have to be paid. Humanity's survival demanded sacrifice, and she had made her peace with that. Through the fading remnants of her individual consciousness, she sent one final command through the neural network. Not in words, but in pure intention, in the distilled essence of human determination that had brought their species from caves to the stars. The quantum field pulsed one final time. In his command center, Supreme Warleader Kex-11 watched as reality itself seemed to hiccup. Every weapon in his fleet, every energy signature, every burst of plasma and quantum energy, all of it reversed course simultaneously. But not just reflected this time. Changed. Transformed by its passage through whatever impossible thing the humans had created. The last thing he saw before the wave hit was the clever fox's hull beginning to transform, its metal structure becoming something that existed in more dimensions than space was meant to hold. Then everything went white. When the light faded, Supreme Warleader Kex-11 found himself staring at something that defied comprehension. Where the HMS Clever Fox had been, there now hung a shape that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, part starship, part energy construct, part quantum phenomenon. And it was speaking. Not through communication channels or neural networks, but directly into the minds of every being in the fleet. We are still here. The voice was many and one, Captain Chen's, but also her crew's, and something more. Something that had evolved beyond mere human consciousness into a harmony of quantum possibilities. What are you? Kex-11 managed through the shared connection. We are humanity's answer to extinction. We are adaptation given form. We are the mirror that shows you your own power, transformed by human will. Around the quantum entity that had been the Clever Fox, Kex-11's mighty fleet hung suspended in probability fields, each ship existing in a state of infinite potential. Not destroyed, but fundamentally changed. You could destroy us all, Kex-11 realized. With a thought, you could collapse every quantum field, erase us from existence. Yes. The response carried neither pride nor threat. But that is not humanity's way. We do not seek dominion. We seek understanding. Growth. Evolution. Through the connection, Kex-11 received a cascade of images, humans rising from Earth's cradle, facing countless disasters and setbacks, yet always adapting, always finding a way forward. Not through overwhelming force, but through innovation, cooperation, and an unwavering refusal to accept limitations. Your weapons taught us about energy. Your tactics taught us about strategy. But your greatest gift was showing us what we could become when pushed to our absolute limits. Dr. Patel, watching from Earth through his monitors, saw something extraordinary happening. The quantum fields weren't just holding the alien fleet in check, they were rewriting reality at a fundamental level, creating a space where human consciousness and advanced technology could coexist in entirely new ways. "Captain Chen," he whispered, "are you still in there?" The response came not in words but in feelings, determination, sacrifice, transcendence. Helen Chen still existed, as did her crew, but they had become something more. Something that could serve as a bridge between what humanity was and what it could become. Supreme War Leader, the quantum consciousness addressed Kex-11, "You came to test humanity's limits. To show us our place in the cosmos. We thank you for this lesson, though perhaps not in the way you intended." The alien commander's mandibles clicked in a gesture of profound respect. "And what lesson is that?" "That true strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the capacity to transform. Not in overwhelming force, but in turning disadvantage into opportunity. Not in breaking others, but in transcending our own limitations." Around the fleet, the quantum fields began to shift, allowing the alien ships to regain normal spacetime positioning. But they were changed, as was the entire region of space around them. The barrier between normal space and quantum reality had been irrevocably altered. "Return to your dominion," the consciousness continued. "Tell them what you witnessed here. Tell them of a species that turned their greatest weapon into a gateway to evolution. Tell them humanity does not bow to superior force, we learn from it, adapt to it, grow beyond it." In his command center, Kex-11 did something no Supreme War Leader had done in the history of the Dominion. He bowed. "You have taught us something as well," he acknowledged. "That wisdom lies in recognizing when conquest is not the answer." The quantum entity pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Then perhaps both our species have evolved today." As the alien fleet prepared to depart, Dr. Patel received one final transmission from the consciousness that had been the Clever Fox's crew. It contained the complete scientific understanding of what they had become, but also a message. "Tell our families we love them. Tell Earth we did our duty. And tell future generations that humanity's greatest strength was never in our weapons or our technology, but in our ability to look into the abyss of impossibility and forge it into a bridge to the future." The entity that had been the HMS Clever Fox remained at its post, a sentinel and a symbol. Not a weapon of war, but a testament to human potential. A mirror that showed not just what was, but what could be. And in the years that followed, when young cadets at the Space Academy asked about the strange quantum phenomenon that guarded Earth's borders, their instructors would tell them this story. Not just of humanity's victory, but of its transformation. Of how a single ship and its brave crew proved that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or weapons or even quantum physics. It was the human spirit, faced with impossible odds, refusing to accept defeat. And somewhere in that quantum matrix, Captain Helen Chen and her crew continued their watch, no longer merely human but eternally humanity's children, forever reflecting back to the cosmos the best of what we could become.